Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Desert's Garden Podcast. I'm your host Nathan, here with my beautiful wife Mia.
Hey! If you're new here on this podcast, we share our daily highs and lows. This is not by any means a highlight reel, but where we share the realities of navigating marriage, faith, and our life together with God's guidance every step of the way.
Yes, we do. Today's episode is one that I am super excited to get into because it's often overlooked on the early sides of parenting, and that is the dads.
So, of course, you're excited.
Of course. So, we're going to call this episode Dads Need Support Too.
Or something like that. But anywho, we'll break it into 3 parts as we do. First, we'll talk about why early fatherhood is so important. Second, we'll talk about how dads can show up well physically, emotionally, and spiritually, kind of just following up to this little mini-series we've been doing on being emotionally and physically and spiritually drained. And then lastly, we will talk about how wives can practically affirm and support their husbands in this transition.
Yeah, so let's jump in.
All right, well, obviously we've been talking about this a lot, so we've been thinking a lot lately about what life is going to look like postpartum, and one of the things we've realized is everyone talks about how to support mom, which is so important.
Yeah, it is.
But there's not as many people talking about how to support and prepare dads.
Right, like, the reality is, dads, you're transitioning too.
Yeah.
You know, I'm about to become a father for the first time, and while I'm not carrying or making a baby physically, I do feel the weight of this role emotionally and
You did
spiritually.
physically make the baby.
Well, I know I physically made the baby, but
I'm just kidding. TMI.
yeah, way too much to TMI.
Maybe let's bring it back to the Bible.
Yeah, 1 Corinthians says, "Be on your guard, stand firm in the faith, be courageous, be strong," and that applies to me now more than ever.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, that's attractive. Like, a man who is intentional and engaged during this season, like, yes, Lord, but also it's heavy, and I get that, and I see how much you've already been doing for me and for baby, and baby is not even here yet.
Yeah, like, it's not just about the diapers and the bottles. It's, how we show up spiritually too. Is that, we have to create a safe space, a peaceful space. Like, we have to lead our home. And are we being a source of calm when things get chaotic?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. We know those early days are gonna be messy. They're gonna be chaotic. But something that we've just been talking about is how it is the father's responsibility, or the man of the house's responsibility, to set the tone. And that's not to say to be perfect, but to just set the tone of peace in the home, and, just acknowledging what's required in order to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, for me, that means I'm asking God almost daily for wisdom, for strength. Like, Matthew says in chapter 11, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened. I will give you rest." I know I'm tired. I know I will be tired. But I also can't do this in my own strength.
Yeah, and from my side, I want to leave space for you to show up, and that might mean, not micromanaging how you swaddle baby, or how you change their diaper, or, letting you take the lead with certain tasks, even though that might look different than how I would do it, and that is, obviously more physical, but even just spiritually, how you're leading our family in Bible studies or in memory verses and things like that, giving you space to be the leader in those situations.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. But for any husband that's listening, I just want to stress, it is not about having all the answers. It's about being present.
Yeah.
Taking the initiative.
Right.
Asking, how can we help? And be okay with being needed in new ways.
Yeah, I mean, the next little topic that we're going to talk about is big, because as wives, you're in one of two boats. You can either be fueling your husband or exhausting him. And I just really want to speak life over you, because we should be reminding them that, you're doing a good job, you're strong, you're capable, you're grace covered. I think it is a lot easier for wives to think and be kind and caring and graceful to children, but I think that we also need to be careful about our words and how we are engaging with our husbands. And I think that that's almost more important than our children because they're watching how we treat each other.
Yeah, like if I can say one thing, especially for women listening, like for majority of men, that means more than you know.
Yeah.
Like when you say stuff like "thank you for doing the dishes," like you're going to be such a good dad. Like it fills, specifically it fills my tank more than I think you realize.
Yeah. I mean, and practically speaking, we're planning now for a season where Nathan will be carrying more of the housework, and that means setting realistic expectations and communicating openly and saying thank you way more often, and not just because you're doing something out of the ordinary, but because honor builds intimacy. And I think it's also just a respect thing. Like, maybe you won't be putting things back or cleaning things the way that I would, but it's more, like I said, a respect thing of, hey, I appreciate that you're doing
Yeah,
this.
and like I know I'm gonna do my best. I know I'm gonna be stretched, but throughout that whole process, I know hearing encouragement from you will remind me that I'm not doing this alone, and that's everything to me.
Yeah. So if this episode encouraged you guys, we'd love if you'd leave us a review or rate it depending on where you're listening. If you know someone who needs to hear this message, share it with a friend. Every share helps others find the show.
Yeah, and if you're a dad, know this: your role is so valuable.
Yeah.
Your presence matters. And honestly, with God, you're equipped for this season.
Right. So we just want to say thank you guys for listening to the Deserts and Gardens podcast. Until next time, walk in love
Live with purpose
and
and
trust
trust
God
God
in
in
every
every
desert
desert
and
and garden.
garden. See ya.